Welcome, Gun Runner.
Hey everybody, Q&AK, the Retro Lad here, and this is a little intro to this video, and this is a kind of follow-up to one that I did recently, fairly recently, I think it was a couple of months ago now, where I showed you around a modern arcade. The arcade in question was what used to be Namco Funscape in the Galaxy Centre in Luton. Now it's 10-pin arcade in same place. They took it over and refurbished it and stuff, and I've just been away for the Queen's Jubilee weekend, a few days away. We decided to go to Clacton because we got a really cheap deal, which was nice, and yeah, I thought it would be cool to video some footage of the arcades there, so you can get a look at a modern Seaside arcade. So that's what I mean by it's kind of a follow-up, because it's another look at a modern arcade, but a very different type, because obviously Seaside arcades are more focused to tourists and stuff like that. And I thought before I showed you the footage, I've done some little bits and pieces of footage, mostly panoramic shots, because there was no point in filming around every arcade, because there's quite a lot of them. There's actually 5 main arcades in Clacton. I'll mention that first. There is one, the biggest one is on the pier, then there's one in the pavilion, which is just in front of the pier, and then when you go up the high street, there is a couple on the right hand side and one on the left hand side. Magic City's on the left hand side. I can't think what the two on the right hand side are called. Oh, one of them's called Gaiety. I can't think what the other one's called, but anyway, there is 5 arcades in total on that seafront in Clacton, and they're all big arcades actually. None of them are small, so there is loads to choose from. They're all very, very heavily prize-based arcades, very heavily. So prize machines, and especially the one on the pier, because the one on the pier, as well as you being able to just play the arcades by putting coins in, you can get a card, like a membership card. I think they call it a VIP card. You can use that to buy goes on games and stuff, and you get a slightly cheaper price if you use the arcade. I just noticed in the background behind me one of my cats walking along the fence, so that's Daisy. She might jump down in a minute. But yeah, so I've taken a little bit of footage. I think I've got a little bit of footage of each arcade. I've got a panoramic shot in each one. As I say, I wasn't going to go around each one and film the whole arcade, because the video would have been about an hour long if I'd have done that. And it was too busy to do that as well, especially on the pier. The pier arcade was mad, and in fact I ended up getting some of this footage by going back quite late at night to get it. The cat's literally right above my head on the fence there, so I don't know if she's going to jump down or what. But yeah, in terms of machines, obviously all your usual prize machines, penny pushers, spin the wheel jobs to try and get a prize, and you know, all the kinds of machines you'll see. There isn't that many arcade video games, put it that way, in Clacton, and the ones that are there are the really obvious stuff. So you've got, Jurassic Park, Transformers, Cruis'n Blast, which is obviously one of the newer ones. There is loads of the kids ones, where you shoot water at the screen, those kind of ones. There's driving games, like there's Super Bikes as well. There's another driving game that's there. A lot of the Raw Thrill stuff, they've got World's Biggest Pac-Man, World's Biggest Space Invaders, World's Biggest Gallagher. So they've got all of those kind of ones that you often see in the arcades now. So very generic, nothing particularly unusual. There is a couple of things, highlights. So one thing worth mentioning is that 2 of the arcades there have actually got those mechanical pong tables that Atari did quite a few years back. I've reviewed it on the channel actually, so I'll link that separately, because I videoed that last time I went to Clacton. So if you're interested in that, I'll stick a link in the comments as well, and I'll link it on the screen if you want to see the pong machine separately, because I've got some really good footage of that actually. The only other interesting thing is in the Pavilion arcade, there was an Operation Ghost by Sega, which is quite an old game. I think that's early 2000s, because I think that came out on the Wii, didn't it? I think that was a port for the Wii. That was the oldest game there, and nothing older than that. So really no retro machines whatsoever. So if you were retro machine spotting, you'd be really disappointed in Clacton, because there's pretty much nothing there. It's all the usual stuff you'd expect to see. So I mean, compared to say Southend down the coast, I did some video of Southend quite a few years back, which I put on the channel, but I haven't re-uploaded it. Reason being is because I'd like to refilm it to make it up to date, but I haven't been down to Southend for ages, but I was hoping to refilm it all, because Southend, which is just up the coast, also in Essex, has got some really good retro arcades. It's even got a couple of arcades that have got massive areas of retro machines, like Astra City, which is all retro machines, and there's I can't think what the other one's called now, but there's one that was about half and half. About half the arcade is retro stuff and pinball. So yeah, big contrast. Similar in many ways as a resort, being in Essex and having a pier and all that kind of thing, and being close to London, etc. But yeah, the range of machines in Clacton's very, very poor. So if you're looking to play arcade games, and there's not really a lot there for you, unfortunately. And there is plenty to see and do in and around Clacton. So as a seaside resort goes, it's probably better, and in fact it has a much better beach than Southend. Southend's beach isn't great. Clacton's beaches is gorgeous, lovely beach there. But anyway, I'll stop wittering on, and I'll let you enjoy the footage of some modern seaside arcades in Clacton-on-Sea.